let's discuss it with our panel. We want to bring in CNN political commentator and Hillary Clinton supporter Bakari Sellers and Trump campaign spokesperson Katrina Pierson. Thanks to both of you for being here. Katrina, I'll just start with you and everything that Manu has just raised. Is there concern within the Trump campaign that Mr. Trump is not staying enough on message and keeps sort of being diverted with these other issues?
No, Allison, look, it's been over a year, and we are still hearing CNN report, quote, turmoil in the Trump campaign. It is simply not true. These are still anonymous sources that CNN continues to use, and all the individuals mentioned have said it's not true. So I will say it again, it's not true. The Trump campaign is very excited moving towards the debates simply because there's going to be a clear contrast drawn between what a Trump administration would look like versus the status quo with Hillary Clinton.
Katrina, just because they're anonymous sources doesn't mean they don't exist. These are people talking to CNN who didn't want to be named because they wanted to protect their current jobs there. I mean, these are people telling us overnight that they're very concerned with the way that this campaign is going. In particular, some of the statements that he's made about the Khan family over the last 5 days. Also, some of the things happening now with Speaker Paul Ryan, refusing to endorse Paul Ryan in his primary. Do you want to see, Katrina, Paul Ryan reelected to Congress from Wisconsin?
Well, Mr. Trump had already said earlier, John, that he wasn't interested in involving himself in primaries. This is a primary, so there's nothing new here. And what he didn't say is he wouldn't endorse Paul Ryan. He just said he wasn't ready yet.
Bakari, what do you think of Donald Trump? Paul Ryan and John McCain did come around to endorsing Donald Trump. What do you think about him breaking with protocol and not endorsing them?
Well, there's been absolutely nothing normal about this Donald Trump campaign. We can say that as being a fact. But Donald Trump has not just unendorsed or not endorsed John McCain. He's blatantly disrespected John McCain. He's disrespected POWs. He's actually gone so far in Paul Ryan's races just next week to kind of give him a slap in the face as well. I mean, the only person that Donald Trump has truly endorsed throughout this whole campaign season is Vladimir Putin. And I think that the fact that he won't stand beside his own colleagues shows that he will be an ineffective president of the United States. He will not be able to govern if you won't stand beside Paul Ryan, you won't stand beside John McCain, if you are, in fact, the president of the United States.
Katrina, I want to give you a chance to clean up.
Let me thank my friend Bakari for acknowledging that Donald Trump is not your typical go-along to get-along politician and follows protocol. He's doing what he thinks is best. I mean, we keep forgetting here that these individuals severely attacked Donald Trump. It wasn't like Donald Trump just came out and said some things. They were in response to what was said about him.
Well, how did Paul Ryan severely attack
Donald Trump is still committed. When he didn't want to endorse Donald Trump after it was already known that he was going to win the nomination, saying that his policies were bad, even though the Republican voting primary supported him overwhelmingly. These are criticisms of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump hasn't criticized Paul Ryan. He just said, I wasn't ready to endorse him yet because he already said early on that he didn't want to get involved in primaries. These are primaries, not general election races.
So what goes around comes around, Katrina?
No, what I'm saying is these are primaries. I don't understand why we can't distinguish the difference between a primary race, because there are a lot of Trump supporters who are supporting other candidates. Most politicians at that level stay out of primary races for that reason, and he already said he didn't want to get involved.
Kelly Ayotte is not in a primary in New Hampshire, Katrina. Kelly Ayotte is running for re-election to Senate there against the Democratic governor. Donald Trump's been very critical of her.
Well, absolutely. He's been critical of those who've been critical about him. Again, this is nothing new. And for some reason, why Donald Trump has to toe the line, particularly for Republicans who have scored less than 30% on the Heritage Action scorecard, is beyond belief. These are Republicans who actually support Hillary Clinton in many ways.
Hey, Katrina, we want to give you an opportunity to clarify something that you said on CNN yesterday. You seem to be blaming President Obama and Secretary of State then, Hillary Clinton, for Captain Humayun Khan's death. You had said it was under Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton that changed the rules of engagement that probably cost his life. And, of course, he was killed in 2004. That was when President George W. Bush was president. Last night, Captain Khan's father, Khizr Khan, responded to your comments. Let us play those for you.
Do I need to say anything? Lack of understanding, lack of factual correctness. I would again appeal to his surrogates that please show some decency, refrain from what you're tempted out of anger and out of this ugly partisanness.
Katrina, do you want to apologize to Mr. Khan?
Apologize for the timeline. What I was talking about is the fact that Donald Trump has no connection to anything having to do with Captain Khan, who was a brave war hero. The timeline is very simple and true, Allison. Hillary Clinton voted for the war in Iraq. She did not support the surge. Barack Obama made things worse by invading more countries than President Bush did. They did change the rules of engagement and got tens of thousands of soldiers that were killed.
But he was killed in 2004 when George W. Bush was president.
Allison, may I chime in, please?
Donald Trump wasn't there. That is the only point. That is the only point. Donald Trump is being blamed for something he had nothing to do with, and he did not attack this family.
You were blaming
he just
President
simply
Obama.
Said, I had nothing to do with it.
Katrina, the words that you used probably cost his life. President Obama and Hillary Clinton changed the rules of engagement that probably cost his life. You do acknowledge now that you were just wrong.
Well, absolutely. That's why I use probably, because I was just going through the timeline. Because since then, we have had tens of thousands of soldiers that have been lost, 1 million wounded, $6 trillion later. How can we possibly put any of the onus on Donald Trump? It is absolutely absurd. And that's why you see all this confusion surrounding this issue, because Donald Trump had absolutely nothing to do with it.
But no one was blaming Donald Trump for Captain Khan's death. You were blaming President Obama, and he wasn't president yet.
No, I was talking about Hillary Clinton specifically voting for the war, and that was during that time period.
You said change the rules of engagement that cost his life. That's what you specifically said.
In the chronological order, absolutely.
Allison and John, if I may, just briefly. This is the type of fact-free environment that we're living in. Not only do people fail to realize, or Katrina fails to realize, or just fails to articulate, that Donald Trump actually supported the Iraq war before he was against it, and to actually blame a sitting state senator in Illinois for changing the rules of engagement in 2004 and causing the death of this great war hero is the height of irresponsibility. But further, you get deep down to the bones of the Trump campaign, and the fact that Katrina Pierson won't even apologize this morning is indicative not just of her, but it's indicative of the top of this campaign. It's exactly what Captain Khan's father was talking about. It's about decency and respect. And until we can get back to that playing field, all else is moot.
Katrina, you acknowledge you got it wrong.
Donald Trump did not vote for that war, period.
Donald Trump, in an interview in 2000,
he
said he was supportive of the war before the invasion.
He
it was
did
only,
not
he
vote
absolutely
for the war.
said
he did
was
not
supportive.
choose
He couldn't have voted.
troops.
He was a private person.
He was a private person. Barack Obama did not vote for the
That's my point, Allison. That's my point. That's why this is a ridiculous conversation. Donald Trump had nothing to do with sending troops like Captain Khan into Iraq to begin with.
Nor did he have anything to do with opposing it until after the war had begun and wasn't going well.
But it doesn't matter. He had nothing to do with this war that sent Captain Khan over there. I mean, that's the whole point here. Mr. Trump had nothing to do with this, but somehow, for the last few days, this has been revolving around a war and Donald Trump, something that he had nothing to do with.
Well, I mean, it's surrounding the rhetoric between Donald Trump and Khizr Khan. That's what this war of words is.
Well, CNN has been talking about an attack on the family. So what exactly was the attack?
He said
we can clear that up.
He questioned
What was the
why
attack?
the grieving mother of this soldier who was killed in battle in 2004 questioned why she chose not to speak at the Democratic convention. That's specifically, I think, what people are talking about, Katrina.
Well, if that's what we're talking about, then go back and check the tape, because he was specifically talking about reports that the father, not the son, and I think it's very important to separate those two, because Donald Trump did say that the son was a hero. He was speaking specifically to the reports that the father, who is a strong proponent of Sharia law, and actually writing about it and how the Constitution should be subordinate to Sharia law.
That's not
why
true,
that even
Katrina.
came up in the interview.
That's not true. The father has addressed that. I'll just read to you, unless we have it on tape. He said that we do have it on tape. All right, let's play it.
Sharia law, as we have titled, there is no such thing as Sharia law. These are laws of various Muslim countries. which are hodgepodge of British laws, French laws, Portuguese laws. In there is tremendous discrimination of genders, which disqualifies them under the Constitution of the United States, cannot be implemented, cannot be brought. How can I be a person that has read this? I preach that I do not stand for any Sharia law because there is no such thing.
Katrina, he doesn't stand for it. He never has stood for it. He carries around the U.S. Constitution.
Allison, you're right.
He abides by the Constitution.
You're right. That's what he said. But I'm just telling you the reports and the documents that he wrote were put out there for all to see, which says the exact opposite. That's what Mr. Trump was referring to. There was no attack. It was an observation.
But
And
Allison,
by the way,
these
his
smears
website is
continue.
now
We got to go to break, but Mr. Trump was talking about the mother and why she didn't speak at the convention. That's exactly what he said when he said it.
Right.
So,
Bakari, Katrina.
Right. And he said reading the reports.
Okay.
Go back and
Thank
check the
you.
tape.
Thank you. We will put out on our own Twitter accounts the account as we know it. A quick programming note for you. Join us tonight for a live CNN town hall.